Let's talk about BlazBlue Central Fiction's English dub. Or lack thereof. So these past few months, I've been getting into the weird and wonderful world of BlazBlue. In fact, when I finished these games, I made a tweet about it. What? I can't show my appreciation towards Arc System Works? Anyway, one of the most lauded aspects of this franchise has been its English dub, which has been near universally praised by everyone who has played this amazing franchise. However, problems within the fanbase arose when the last mainline game of the series, BlazBlue Central Fiction, came westwards without a dub. But why? And for whatever reason? Well, I think we should take a look-see into this problem, don't you agree? Before we take a look-see into this problem, I think I should explain exactly what BlazBlue is. The series was conceived by Toshimichi Mori of Arc System Works fame. His initial idea was to make a JRPG game with rich lore, as you'd expect from a genre such as that. But upon realising that Arc System Works primarily makes fighting games and not JRPGs, it evolved into a fighting game. However, the expansive lore was kept, and as such, the story plays out as a visual novel, what with its overabundance of well-written text. The first game of this series, BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, was released in Japanese and American arcades in November 2008, with ports to PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation Portable eventually arriving between 2009 and 2010. Thanks to this success, it spawned sequels, expansions of these sequels, spin-off games, manga, light novels, an anime, a crossover game, and even a radio show. BlazBlue more or less plays out like any traditional fighting game would. Two characters go at it, taking portions of the health bar off the meter at the top until one of them dies. And they do it in up to 5 rounds. Or should I say, rebels. Yeah, this game likes to throw weird phrases around before each match.
The wheel of fate is turning.
The announcer proudly proclaims before each rebel. Characters have weak, medium, and strong attacks they can perform, along with a unique action known as a drive, all of which can be performed with the face buttons that the game labels A, B, C, and D. These can be strung together combined with various inputs made on the D-pad to perform crazy stylish combos. In the bottom left corner of the screen, there is another meter that fills up when you deal damage to your opponent, or vice versa. When the bar reaches 50%, inputting certain directions quickly on the D-pad combined with a button press such as downright D will allow you to perform a distortion drive, a flashy attack that deals a lot of damage to your opponent. Should you perform an alternate set of D-pad and button inputs when the meter is filled all the way to the top, provided your opponent has little health remaining and it's the final rebel of a match, you can unleash a devastating killing blow known as an astral heat that'll ensure you gain victory. But Mike, I hear you cry, I want to play defensively! Well, it shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but yes, you can block opponents' attacks, and it creates a shield when you block them. Be careful though, as underneath the health bar there is another small gauge that depletes on every successful block you make. And when it breaks, you're basically fucked in the way of blocking until the gauge refills back up to the top automatically. But I don't like my shield breaking! Well, if that's the case, when you block, if you hold the A and B buttons, you'll unleash a barrier block, wherein the shield doesn't break, though it only stays like this for a limited time, and that time is dependent on how much the shield gauge is filled. That's the basics covered for the most part. However, later games would introduce some handy mechanics. For example, the third game, Chrono Phantasma, introduced Overdrive, wherein a simple press of the R2 button, on PlayStation 3 anyway, will allow the character to go into an overdrive state where the strength of that character will be buffed for a limited time. And the fourth and final game, Central Fiction, would introduce Exceed Accel, wherein after Overdrive is activated, if you hold all of the face buttons, you can perform a special move that deals large damage to your opponent. But once the attack ends, so too does Overdrive. Let me tell you why I love this game. Its fast, frantic, and crazy stupid fun gameplay is exciting, ecstatic, and exhilarating, and the controls add to the fun of the gameplay, as it's fun to experiment with different combinations to perform one of a wide variety of attacks the character has. Top that off with bold, colourful, and striking visuals with buttery smooth animations and frame rate, a plethora of extra bonuses in the gallery and minigames galore like the score attack and unlimited Mars modes that provide endless amounts of joy, an absolutely bonkers and over-the-top storyline involving time travel and parallel timelines, and bitchin' music courtesy of Arc System Works, Metalhead, and Guilty Gear creator Daisuke Ishiwatari, and you have a recipe for an amazing time. By the way, I recommend newcomers use the stylish control scheme as opposed to the default technical control scheme, as stylish controls allow you to simply mash the buttons to easily perform combos, distortion drives, and astral heats. That is, unless you're playing the first game, in which case there is no stylish control scheme. But there is an easy way to perform specials, and that's by flicking the right stick in a certain direction, left for distortion drives, and down for astral heats.
Okay, now let's actually get on with explaining the English dub of this game, okay? Yeah, let's do that.
Around the time the first game came out, similar games were getting English dubs to complement the original Japanese dubs. And why wouldn't they? After all, English dubs, despite some people preferring the original audio, you know who you are, have always been a source of popularity for many a fan alike. And just like those games, BlazBlue's English dub used a cast coming out of Los Angeles, where the grand majority of Japanese video games, and anime as well, get dubbed into the English language. The voice acting in the English dub greatly helps the presentation of the game, as it successfully brings the world, story, and characters to life with strong performances and vocal direction. In addition, the script is generally well written, as it manages to be fun in its own right, whilst not straying too far from the original script. It also adds some little flourishes that help it stand out from the original, such as additional pop culture references and dialogue that is arguably funnier than the original. Definitely helping matters, however, is the fact that the game has such a diverse cast of characters. It allows the talented pool of actors to perform all kinds of voices for their given character, that helps make them stand out. I'll just mention a small sample of characters whose voices I like. Ragnar the Blood Edge, the main character of the series, voiced by Patrick Seitz. You might remember this guy, as I did an impression of some other characters he's voiced. Jesus Christ, mate, we get it! Now, Ragnar is a bit of a grumpy sod most of the time, what with his constant bitching about his life. But throughout all this, Seitz manages to capture his deep, gruff nature that really showcases how tough he is and how he's not one to fuck with. Also, he can be really funny at times, like here in this line what he says to Bullet.
You joined a unit with butt floss for a uniform?
Jin Kisaragi, voiced by David Vincent. With Jin being a calm, cool, more ways than one fellas, and collected major, you'd expect him to sound as such. And Vincent manages to capture this perfectly with his stoic demeanour and commanding presence. However, he also does insanely well at handling the psychotic side of Jin. When he screams for his brother, like he's about to chop your right arm off with his katana, you know shit's going down with him. The trio of NOL girls, Noelle Vermillion and her best friends Makoto Nanaya and Tsubaki Yayoi, voiced respectively by Christina Valenzuela, Cindy Robinson, and Julianne Taylor. I've lumped these three together because, well, for one, they make an awesome trio, but also, they share some qualities in their voices that makes them likeable. Cuteness, spunky attitudes, bright and energetic personalities, and a passion for each other. And their voice actors use their talents to bring these three to life in a way that'll make you root for them, even when the situation gets dire for the three. Tao Kaka, voiced by Phyllis Sampler. A character like Tao can easily be rendered annoying as all hell if the voice acting successfully makes the character sound annoying and ear-grating. Fortunately, Tao doesn't suffer from this. Sampler manages to capture Tao's unpredictable and ditzy personality to a T. And she does it all with such craziness and eccentricity, it really helps Tao's weirdness spring out to life, like a flying crane.
And then to finish it off, you punch it real hard!
And those are just a small sample of characters whose voices I like. I'd like to talk some more, but I don't want this video going on for as long as it already is. But we're not done yet, because I want to mention two particular characters whose voices stood out the most to me. Pazuma, aka Yuki Terumi, once voiced by Eric Davis, but as of Continuum Shift Extend, is now voiced by Doug Erholtz. Even though the way he acted at the beginning of Calamity Trigger wasn't very subtle in his villainous reveal at the end, boy howdy is his voice glorious! I mean, beneath that professional, smart exterior lies a psychopathic man-child that steals every single scene he appears in, with his booming, large ham of a voice and an incredibly nutty personality that makes his actions that much more enjoyable to watch. It's clear his voice actors, in my opinion, Erholtz more so, have the time of their lives with the portrayal of the slithering snake of a smooth criminal.
This is awesome! It's like I'm beating up a dog and an old man all at once!
And Rachel Alucard, voiced by Mela Lee. She may have a soft, childlike voice that complements her looks, but she combines this with a refined manner of speech with her eloquent vocabulary and a strict, stern tone that complements the gothic Lolita fashion she sports. And it is glorious, especially in moments where she plays the straight man to any character in a funny situation, especially Ragnar. And she can even be a joy to listen to when she's being rude and sarcastic. No bullshit. When I played the tutorial of Continuum Shift, I was happily responding to a negative critiquing of my playstyle, thanks to how well each roast was delivered.
Ah, go fuck yourself, you body itch!
So basically, what I'm trying to get at is the English dub of BlazBlue is really, really good, okay? Now, let me take you back to August 2016. Imagine yourself as this young BlazBlue fan. You log onto Twitter one day just for the hell of it, and you see Axis Games, the American publishing division of these games, put out a tweet about BlazBlue's Central Fiction. You expect some awesome news from them. But then you see this tweet from them, and your optimism slowly but surely fades away into complete nothingness. At this point, your response to this tweet would be,
I'm gonna take my carnage scissors and shut off their Inferno Divider!
And there you have a rough approximation of how fans felt when they first heard the news that BlazBlue Central Fiction wasn't going to get an English dub. And the fanbase had every right to be pissed off. I mean, Central Fiction is the last mainline installment in the BlazBlue canon, and the previous 3 games all had superlative dubbing, so why not dub this game? Well, it's not like Axis took to Twitter to give out a reason. Oh, never mind, turns out they did. In this tweet, they explained that they'd have the game out within 6 to 8 months of the Japanese launch had they decided to dub the game into English. Alas, they had the attitude of Krusty the Clown, so a tough decision was made to release the game there and then with no dub in sight. They later clarified that they were only going to do one release in November of that year with no dub. It went well with the fans. Actually, it only made things worse judging from the comments to this tweet. With this in mind, TV Tropes mentioned some other possible reasons for this decision. First, a previous game from Arc System Works, Guilty Gear Xrd, had problems with its localized release, as the European release happened a year after the Japanese release and months after the American release, meaning they got away with cutting some corners, namely by not releasing the DLC other continents had and not even updating the EU version to the same software version the US and Japan got. These corner-cutting measures, along with the fact that there was a lack of interest in the English dub of that game, meant that they figured the same could apply to Central Fiction. Second, Axis mentioned in a statement in 2018 that the dub would have cost $250,000 to produce, and they didn't have enough funds to make it. Fans have pointed out that they could have created the dub with the budget mentioned and made all that money back from sales of the game. But surely it couldn't get any worse, right? Welp, shortly after the tweet came out, Patrick Seitz took to Facebook to shed some light on the situation. In a nutshell, if it wasn't already bad enough that Axis confirmed the game would be releasing westwards without a dub, it was worse for the voice actors, including himself, as none of them were contacted by Axis to reprise their roles, mentioning how he was, quote, irate at how impersonally I found out, and how he felt his efforts for the previous games felt like they were all for naught. As in addition to voicing Ragnar, he also did the script adaptation and voice direction for Continuum Shift and Alter Memory. Lamenting this decision, He then went on to say how, quote, Axis has literally nothing to gain by saying nope, it's never gonna happen, except inviting a lot of disappointment and ill will amongst themselves, before pondering on the potential sales figures of Central Fiction in the West, saying that it's selling well over here with no dub means people don't care about English dubs in BlazBlue, so why should Axis commit the time and money into making one? With that being said, he said he'll, quote, eat crow should he and the rest of the cast dub the game. It got to the point where later on, one fan going by Christopher Snellgrove created a petition on change.org to ensure an English dub for Central Fiction was made. The petition reached 6,670 signatures, some of which included Sites, Christina Valenzuela, Cindy Robinson, and Mela Lee. And Sites managed to thank the community for their support and efforts in helping to spread awareness of the petition through a follow-up post on Facebook. Shortly after, a follow-up tweet from Axis Games was released wherein they recognised the support from the community and mentioned the petition. Unfortunately, when the petition officially closed down, nothing came from it. And through another follow-up Facebook post from Sites, he asked an interesting question in his post. Namely, how much would the English dub affect the overall sales of the game in the long run? To this day, fans are still split on this issue. While there are some people who'll prefer the original audio over any English dub any day of the week, as if I haven't mentioned that already, the fact that the English dubs of the past games are well revered and critically acclaimed by everyone makes this controversial decision all the more notable. If you want my opinions on the matter, all I'll say is, if my praise for the English dub wasn't obvious already, then yeah, I agree that Central Fiction should have gotten a dub. I should say that the Japanese cast all do awesome performances as their characters. I mean, Tomokazu Sugita voices Ragnar with power and badassery, whilst also being warm-hearted by the game's conclusion that makes me enjoy his performance.
あれが生まれたばかりの赤ん坊だと。違うね。あれは少女だった。
And for every cry of Brother! There's about 50 wailings of Nissan! That's performed amazingly well by Jin's Japanese VA, Tetsuya Kakihara, capturing his perverted lust for his brother and his brutal zest for violence down pat. However, I was so used to the English voices that having to go through one more game with a voice cast I wasn't all too familiar with was a bit of a stretch for me. In fact, towards the end of Central Fiction's story, I started to feel fatigue just getting to the end of it all. And to be fair, I had gone through like, 2-3 games before this one, so yeah, I think it was only natural that fatigue would eventually creep in by the time I reached Central Fiction's climax. Again, not saying the Japanese voices are bad, oh no, very far from it. It's just a personal problem I had. Furthermore, Axis's treatment of the English VAs was really unfair. After all, they put their passion and soul into each line, every word spoken from their characters' mouths. So to deny them the opportunity to voice these characters again just for getting a release out there feels cheap, lazy, and rather scummy. People love these voices for fuck's sake, and considering Central Fiction finishes off the storyline, it's jarring not having the original cast back to see it through to the end.
And, well, here we are. It's 2021, and as of the Nintendo Switch port of BlazBlue Central Fiction, the game still lacks an English dub to this day. Though there are a few silver linings to this. Some newcomers who debuted in BlazBlue Central Fiction would actually get official English voice actors as of cross-tag battle, such as S, Susanoo, and Naoto Kurogane. Some fans decided to mod the PC version of the game to include the English voice clips for all of the characters using recycled clips from the previous games. And one particular fan on YouTube, Hiroton VA, has taken it upon himself to dub the entire game from start to finish. Right now, he's only done 2 episodes of his efforts, and there'll be a link in the description below if you want to check out the first episode. You know something? Maybe we could get a PS5 version of Central Fiction, an extend version, if you will, featuring all the DLC included on the game right from the get-go, much like the Switch version, more modes, a bit more story, and dare I say, an English dub. And if we do get an English dub, maybe the other versions could get it as free DLC. Just saying. For now though, Arc System Works is currently doing their next effort in the Guilty Gear series, Guilty Gear Strive, to even worry about BlazBlue at the moment. Maybe after June something will happen, who knows. Other than that, I got nothing else to say. Goodbye!
Hey there everybody, if you enjoyed this video, why not drop a like my way, and if you want to see more of what I do, then click the subscribe button and hit the notification bell for all updates. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at MikeTheVA1.